Buenas noches. 大家晚安。こんばんは。Welcome to Final Moments. I'm Daphne Lei, the PI and the writer and the director of the show. What you see today is when it's a year-long research and creative process. As we're still in a pandemic, I think a lot of things you see today, some stories, some experiences, some fragments of life and emotions might trigger some kind of traumatic feelings. If that happens, if you need to exit, these are the exits. You can exit quietly during the show. We will have a Q&A afterwards. The show is only about like an hour, a little bit over an hour, no intermission. So we'll wait for a few minutes if you need to leave, but we will have a Q&A here, including the people we have interviewed to the characters are based on. So it will be a very interesting interview, Q&A session. So thank you very much. Enjoy the show.
First U.S. case has been detected.
Pandemie war und ist eine politische, soziale, ökonomische Jahrhundertaufgabe.
세계적으로 신형 코로나 바이러스 감염증 피해가 계속 확산되고 있는 속에
There's confirmation the coronavirus has reached Australia.
É muito doloroso uma mãe enterrando um filho de 14 anos, uma mãe enterrando um filho de 18, como eu fui fazer hoje. É muito difícil.
Another day of the crisis, another day of the unknown. I hope none of my patients will die today. I've lost 6 patients already. Okay. I find a way to maximize my time. I'm getting ready while listening to the news.
that the coronavirus presents a public health emergency in the United States.
No homicide charges for the officers involved. Father and son accused of chasing and gunning down an unarmed black man.
Webbed in sight, more than 500 fires burning out of control across California.
Millions urged to work from home. Airlines now canceled.
Was shot to death back in March when police were in
The entire country on lockdown.
Wall Street's worst day in more than a decade.
It also came out of that is funny.
May have to temporarily bury bodies on public land.
This is the first year of my residence. I moved to an apartment 5 minutes away from the hospital so my family would be safe. I get up, I walk to the hospital, I eat at the hospital, I get home late. I do my best. And everyone tries their best, but sometimes we just watch patients slipping away. Med school never prepared me for this. Okay, I need to get myself ready. We all have our little tricks.
Until what? I don't understand. Intubate? What does that even mean? I don't understand, doctor. Why? How? Wait, are you saying that? No, that's not possible, no. No. Oh, yeah, I'm still here. Okay. I'll tell my mom. Thank you. When was that? I dropped off Mom last Friday because she said she had a cold. She's tough, you know? Always doing things herself. She didn't want me going in with her, so I told her to call me when she was done. That was... what? 5 days ago. I didn't even give her a hug. Hello? Ma? Kumusta ka na? Opo. Siyempre. Siyempre.
Yes? No, yes, in general, the elderly or people with chronic disease or compromised immune system have higher risk factors. But we also see healthy patients just go downhill very quickly. No, the majority of the patients will get better, but I don't know, think about this patient I took care of. He was only in his 30s, healthy, and boom, he had a heart failure right away. And it happened just in a matter of days. So we don't have enough data at this point yet. Yes? Well, once they are in the ICU, the prognosis is not good. The next step will be probably intubation, and that's just if. That's what the patients and the family wants. It means the patient will have a breathing tube inserted, and they will be heavily sedated. Sí, significa que el paciente va a tener un tubo insertado y va a estar profundamente dormido. Yeah. No, the survival rate after being on a ventilator it's actually very bad. And that's why we need to have this difficult conversation with the families. Well, about the final moments.
they call a traveling nurse. I travel from hospital to hospital. There's been a huge shortage of nurses nationwide and worldwide. This is what I've always wanted to do, ever since I was a little girl. Just being there to take care of the sickest. I make a lot more this way too. We actually need it though, because my husband lost his job. I love my job. Sure, it's overwhelming sometimes, but I just love being there when the help is needed most. I also haven't seen my baby for 3 months now. It's crazy. Everyone is working too hard. We all need a break.
Final moments. We had 2 days to pack our dorm rooms. You went south, I went west. You know, I've heard of evacuations before. Fleeing from war, from Germany, from Cuba, from China. But from our school, we were almost done with finals. Spring break was coming up. We had so many plans. The final moment, though, was seeing that Uber driving you away to the airport. Wait, I don't even know where you live. What's your address? How will I find you? What if you never take my calls? Will I see you again?
From flesh to ash. Which is the final moment? Flesh or ash? I can't sleep. I keep my phone with me all the time. My mom is alone. 爷爷奶奶 are old. What if they get sick? My hometown is so far away, and my hometown is in lockdown. What if I can't be there for the final moments?
I miss my baby. I miss my family. I miss singing to my baby. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to sleep. But I can't really go home now, can I? Probably all covered with germs.
Yesterday, I had a chance to talk to this patient, an elderly gentleman, well, about the final moments. I said I had a chance because sometimes things happen so fast that we couldn't tell him it was coming. He was weak, but he could still hear me very well. He started crying. He was sad, but I think he was mostly very angry. He had told me he was so careful. He didn't go out, didn't let his children visit him. He really believed he would get better. He said, I was so good. I did everything I could. No, this isn't right. This isn't right, this isn't right, he kept saying, and I was angry too because I was powerless. I'm a doctor. I'm supposed to be saving lives. I'm sorry. That's the only thing I could say. And I wish I didn't have to say sorry all the time.
I would just sing, if I could. I would ask them what kind of music they like, if I could. I would keep the music going at the final moment, past the final moment. I believe they can still hear. I know they can hear. Mira dil kehta hai. It must be so lonely, having to go like that. But playing music is not what's possible. The final moments are often chaotic. So I would just sing through my mask. I know they can hear. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. I hate to leave you. I really must say, oh, good night, sweetheart. Good night.
Mom, I had a dream. I was finally home for New Year. 我终于可以回家过年了。可梦里的你老了好多，像奶奶、爷爷，我记不清了。My dream is fading, and my memory is fading. Mom, I'm so afraid. What if I can't remember 爷爷、奶奶 or you? Let's take an interview where we still remember 爷爷、奶奶. Listen, Mom, I know it's hard for you, but people need to know what's been going on in Wuhan. And I need to know. What? Nana passed away at home? Why didn't you take her to the hospital? No beds? How is that possible? 全武汉都找不到床位吗？ The whole city! Where's her body then? That's so horrible. Then, how did 爷爷get a spot in the hospital? But you couldn't go in? How could they do that? 爷爷 was by himself? Could you talk to him? Did he say something? Could he? That's so 爷爷. 8 days. 8 days by himself! Waiting all alone. Did he talk about me? sorry, Mom. I'm sorry. I wasn't there for you. With you. 爷爷那么疼我，可我连他最后一面都没见到。I was thinking, why didn't I pick up that call? I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry. Mom, we have to do something. The spirit is still out there. No funeral, no graves, no place to rest. They need to rest. Do they even know how to find each other? Mom, we have to do it right. We will have a farewell and tell them we miss them. And I will tell them I'm sorry and I love them. We will tell them we are good and healthy. The pandemic will be over soon and we will be together again on a beautiful spring day. And I will go home. They will hear us. They will. Mom, we will take the interview. No. Listen, Mom. We will take the interview. This is the eulogy. We will tell their stories. We will tell Wuhan's stories. They will hear us. Everyone will hear us.
Yes. Well, I don't think she's doing well. And I don't think we can make any progress here. Yes. Yes, we have. We have kind of maxed out what we can do here. Yeah, I know. I'm really sorry. Uh-huh. Well, no, I don't know. Yes, it's possible. Usually it's family members, especially for older people since they don't go out much. Uh-huh. Yeah, but I need you to listen to me now. I need to know the decision. Are you sure?
Maligayang bati, maligayang bati, maligayang, maligayang, maligayang bati. Yeah!
This is the final moment I want to remember. You were so happy. You were healthy. We were all healthy and worry-free. Usually it's family members. As kids, my brother would always beat me by saying, wasn't me. Wasn't me that ate the cookies, cut baby's hair, broke the screen door. Wasn't me that took mom's money, poked Jimmy in the eye, took dad's car out for a joyride. Wasn't me, dude. Wasn't me. I swear to God, it wasn't me. I swear to God, it wasn't me. I wasn't even sick. What's the word? Asymptomatic? I mean, anyone can be asymptomatic, right? She lived alone, so it must have been the mailman, or the delivery guy, or the gardener. There must be a way to find out, right? I'll do whatever. I'll spit into a petri dish, or pee in a cup, or take my blood. There must be a way for the doctors to find out if I'm guilty. Please, I just need to know. Am I guilty? Of first degree, second degree, involuntary. Am I gonna go to jail? Of course it wasn't premeditated, it wasn't malicious, it wasn't intentional. No. Of course not. I loved her. She literally raised me. She didn't deserve this. It must have been me.
That is the biggest fear for everyone. Not being able to say goodbye. Not being able to send off the loved ones properly. I know it all too well. But there's only so much we can do.
So we invented rituals, and we have this new app, and we can use our own phone to connect with the patient's family. It's very easy to use, and it wouldn't show our personal information. It's very, very easy to use.
I read somewhere that tapping on the chest stimulates the lungs. It helps you breathe deeper. It actually calms you down. No wonder it's used in some morning rituals. Some Middle Eastern cultures do this. They sometimes do it with both hands, with a rhythm. It's actually quite soothing. Try it. Others tap on their heads. Some bow. Or even crawl. We have funeral processions. We build altars, burn incense, read eulogies. We offer food so they won't become hungry ghosts. But the pain. How do we deal with the pain? The pain is here. Every heartbeat, every tap. tap, every move, every breath. It lessens a little. It lessens a little. It lessens a little. We pray. Even if we don't believe in anything. In India, there's the goddess of contagion, Mariam. People have started praying to her ever since the pandemic started. We pray because we don't know what else we can do.
There was this elderly gentleman, devout Catholic. And I told him I went to a Catholic school as well in Chile, so we chat quite a bit. And he always had this big smile every time he saw me. And I was so happy for him because finally I had some good news to report. But then, suddenly, he went downhill very quickly, and nothing we tried worked. After a couple of days, I knew that was it. So I asked him if there's anything I can do for him, or anyone I can contact for him. And he told me he wanted to pray. He wanted his last rites of the anointing of the sick. I was moved, honored, but I totally panicked. I mean, I went to a Catholic high school, yes, but that was about it. I had no idea how to do this. So I called my cousin right away. I know his buddy is studying at the seminary, and he can probably put me in contact with a priest. Sí. What do I need? Oil. Olive oil. I'm saying in the cafeteria, I guess. Okay. And what do I do? Thumb. Okay. Right hand. I know. Wait, espera. Can you repeat that again? Yeah. Forehead first, then hands. Palm first? Okay, got it. And what do I say? Whoa. No. I'll just repeat after you. Yeah, but please say it slowly.
Okay. I think I can. May the Lord, in His love and mercy, help you with the grace of the Holy Spirit. Let us pray.
Yeah, no doubt. We invent. We improvise. We artists always improvise. It's kind of weird. Absurd, even. You know, I actually kind of like it. No, of course, I hate it. Nothing beats live theater and everything sucks. Just talking heads. But you know, I just made my directing and acting and writing and scene design and costume design and everything design debut. World premiere, actually. Yeah, my cousins from the Philippines, they came. And my high school teacher, who's now in Canada, he came too. And there were 195 people in the audience. I could never do that in the real world. Not a fat chance. Why can't I do that? Because I don't look right. Or because I don't sound right. Or maybe because they can't even pronounce my last name. Or they just can't imagine that I too have a story to tell.
At the school meeting, every time when I try to say something, I always make sure I do it slowly and project my voice. But my coworker just look at me and smile. Can you say that again? That's why I usually don't speak. But the online meetings are different. The small square is my stage, my place. If I raise my little hand, it's bright and yellow, and everyone can see it. It's equal. Everyone has an equal space. It's my final moment to enjoy equal visibility. I have a voice.
It's an alternative space. So what? It's a space I never had. Now, you've seen me. Tell me, will back to normal kill my chances to act again? Is this my final moment to have an equal spotlight? Please, don't take it away from me.
Please,
Don't take it away from us.
It's the little things that count. One nurse in Brazil invented this warm hand, latex gloves with hot water, so the patient can have a hand to hold on to. Can you feel the warmth? It's comforting, isn't it? A hand to hold on to. Can you feel it? You know that you are not alone. We are doing the best we can, you know. We are just trying to provide some comfort for the final moments.
I just finished a 12-hour shift and 2 hours of phone conversation with the families and paperwork. I was doing my best to leave today behind. All the noise, the smell, the chaos, the fear, the stress, the heartbreak. I was tired, dead tired. Was just walking home like a zombie. The night air was chilly. I shivered a bit. I hurried up. I'm used to the commotion of the ambulance when it arrives at the hospital, but for some reason, this time, I stopped to look. With all the paramedic equipment and personnel around you, I caught a glimpse of your silver hair. And it was a special kind of silver. My abuela's kind of silver. The color I remember as a child. A little village in the Andes. Because, you know, there are different kinds of silver. The silver from black hair, it's totally different from the silver from blonde. Or, I don't know, think about Asian black hair. Super different from Latino black hair. Or in the same way, Indian black hair, it's super different from Chinese black hair. I don't know how to explain it, it's just different. I'm not an artist. I don't know how to explain colors or shades. But I can tell you, this silver belongs to my king in the Andes. Now you're here, motionless, unconscious. It's a rare, quiet moment. No endless commotion, or talking, or pushing equipment around, no ruffling sound of the PPE, only the sound of the ventilator, the sound of methodic, rhythmic, labored breathing, the sound of human intervention, the art of science, the sound of the final moments. Cold Blue is already activated, and in a matter of seconds, the whole team will rush in. Grab this, move that, insert this, push that, follow into orders, give orders, listen to orders, regulations, protocols. We move like machines. There's no room for errors, nada. We know it's futile because miracles rarely visit us, but we're energized and we keep pushing forward because we know the final moments are here. Why me? Why am I here? Instead of sus hijos, sus nietos. This is a sacred moment. This is not my place. If you can open your eyes, you will see me, a little girl from the Andes. You can't see my hair. You can barely see my eyes. But I can assure you, I have the same black hair when you fell in love, when you got married, when you held your first baby. And I know my hair will have this kind of unique silver, your kind of silver. Si pudiera,
my eyes will never be the same again. My back will never be the same again. My hands, my neck, my shoulders, my buttocks will never be the same again. Oh shit, it's 7:55 a.m. and my room is in a mess. I am a teacher. Yes? But I'm messy too. I shove everything out of sight. 1 minute to warm up some old coffee, 30 seconds to put on my lipstick. 8 a.m. I am ready.
My eyes will never be the same again. My back will never be the same again. My hands, my neck, my shoulders, and my buttocks will never be the same again. The fatigue of my body, of my hunched back, of my tense shoulders. I bend down, I pick up, I push forward, 12 hours a day. Bend down, pick up, push forward. Bend down, pick up, push forward.
My eyes will never be the same again.
My back will never be the same again.
My hands, my neck, my shoulders and buttocks will never be the same again. Scrub hands, put on PPE, insert tubes, file out charts, file reports, call family members, file reports, scrub hands, put on PPE, take off PPE, put on PPE, take off PPE.
Let's go! We have no time to lose!
I breathe.
Yes, that's it.
I breathe.
Yes, that's it.
Because it can't be that bad, right? Because it can't last that long, right?
It's always the same. Every time. Everyone logs off. I do too. Every time I close my computer, put my hands over my eyes, and I scream. I scream. I scream. Until I remember to breathe. I breathe.
Yes, that's it.
I breathe.
Yes, that's it.
Because it can't be that bad, right? Because it can't last that long, right?
I leave the house at 5 in the morning. 2 buses, 75 minutes. I pick up, I clean up, I see things you don't want to see. Things you don't want to touch. Things you don't want to smell. I pick up, I clean up, I do things you don't want to do. And I breathe.
Yes,
That's it.
Because it can't be that bad, right?
Because it can't last that long, right?
Why don't you put a mask on?
Why don't you get vaccinated? This could have been prevented.
Alpha, Delta, Omicron, BA2. What do you do with a chameleon?
Pfizer, Moderna, N95, we have plenty of solutions.
COVID surge in Brazil.
In Russia, in Indonesia, in Tunisia,
In Florida,
In Romania, 1 person is dying every 5 minutes. Doctors are dealing with the overfilled morgue. And I don't know, a doctor said he was never prepared for the sound of hammering the nails to close the coffins. He said, I was never trained to do this. Never.
I was never trained to sing at the deathbed or to fill a glove with warm water.
or to smile at a computer screen 7 hours a day?
Why don't you put on a mask? Why don't you take a jab?
Why don't you believe in science?
There's a new term, compassion fatigue. Do I have compassion fatigue? How much longer can I take it? I haven't seen my baby for 5 months now. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to...
Shut up!
Go and get a vaccine. Put on a mask.
Believe in science!
Wash your hands. Eat broccoli. Cut your nails.
I can't take this anymore. I can't take this anymore.
And I breathe.
Yes, that's it.
I breathe.
Yes,
That's it.
Because it can't be that bad, right? Because it can't last that long, right?
We artists improvise.
We educators improvise.
We medical workers improvise.
Improviso, unforeseen, not studied or prepared beforehand.
Improvisar, componer o desarrollar un poema, pieza musical o discurso sin haberlo preparado o estudiado.
Improvise, to make or fabricate out of what is conveniently on hand.
To make do. To make things up as we go. To do what we can with what we have.
With whomever,
Wherever,
And whenever.
we improvise. To live.
We improvise.
We improvise till the final moments. Yes, that's it.
Because it can't be that bad, right? Because it can't last that long, right?
We breathe.
Hello, yeah, Hi, well, I'm Daphne Lei. I already introduced myself, and this is. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm
I'm Neha. I'm a UCI medicine resident, second year resident.
So I interviewed her multiple times, and then she gave me so much guidance and everything. So Clara is kind of based on you and then some other residents, doctors. So yeah, I hope you enjoy that. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Alpesh Amin. I serve as chair of medicine at UC Irvine, and I'm founder and executive director of our hospital medicine program.
So Dr. Amin and also Dr. Chow there, Dr. Emily Chow they're all at UCI Medical Center, right? You know, work at UCI Medical Center, and then it was actually Dr. Chow who connected me with everyone. She's my primary doctor and my family doctor, and then because of her, then I had this chance to talk to them. So I guess at first I just want to ask you just a little bit of your reflection and what you think, and did it bring back some kind of trauma and some, because you started after med school pretty soon, COVID hit. Right? That's like the first job, basically. It was like managing COVID patients. Yeah.
Yeah, this is amazingly done. This is a beautiful piece. Congratulations to everyone who worked on it. I think it told a very elegant story, actually. It felt like you could see all the different storylines from people experiencing COVID in multiple ways. From my perspective in the hospital, it was, there were a lot of accurate pieces in there as far as my experience. This is correct. This was my first job. I finished med school. I guess I finished April of 2020 is really when I finished. I graduated in June, and my first job was in the middle of COVID, and my first time in the ICU was all COVID patients. So that was a lot of my experience, and I think it was really artistically done. Did an excellent job.
Yeah, the PPE routine, I checked with her to see whether it is correct, what they actually wear, and then you move to close to the hospital, so you don't have to worry about your family members and all that kind of thing. What about Dr. Amin? Yeah.
Thank you. I agree with Neha. This was just masterfully done, and you all deserve wonderful congratulations. COVID brought created a tug of a war, if you like, within our within our emotions in many, many ways. The on one end, we had a situation where we were learning on the job. Even the most skilled attendings had very, very little information as they were trying to manage the situations at hand. We were worried a lot about not just the patients that we were taking care of, but we were worried about the future patients that needed to be taken care of. We were worried about our own families and what we were exposing them to. We were worried about our coworkers. It was there was a lot of reflecting that was done during the time of COVID. For me, it was an interesting perspective because this piece that you all put together regarding the final moments, many patients were left alone and isolated in the final days of their life. I'll just give you one story. A very close uncle of mine, has more resources than you can actually think about, and owns a big business in Dubai. And, you know, in the last 3 weeks of his life, you know, his social circle was kings of the Arabian countries, and but in the last 3 weeks of his life, he couldn't even spend time with his family members, right? You know, and you know, that is a very very touching but very common experience that many people went through. I'm very proud of what we did at UCI Medical Center and UCI Health. Very proud of our physicians and our residents and our fellows and our nursing staff and so forth. You know, we innovated, and I don't say this lightly, we innovated every step of the way. We brought in 35 plus clinical trials in a matter of days or months of getting things going so that we can make access to care available to our community. You know, we thought a lot about things like surge planning. You know, our residents were tasked with very difficult situations. You know, that they were in the, you know, if you go into training with hopes of kind of getting a broad-based experience, and what you were put in front of is a very narrow-based experience, doing very important work, but very narrow experience, right? You know, dealing with one type of patients that you didn't, and you want a broad-based experience. That actually is not, it's not easy to deal with that. So emotions are flaring at that level also. We did a lot of innovation. We did a lot of surge planning. We were worried about, you know, rationing of care. You know, there came a time when I didn't know if I had enough oxygen to give to patients, simple things like that, or enough dialysis to give to the patients that needed dialysis. You know, we didn't get to having to ration care, but we came very close to having to ration care. So this piece brought back a lot of memories, and we're still living through that. You know, we're still living through the various phases of the surge process, and you know, Dr. Chow actually, you know, it's not her sweet spot anymore to be taking care of patients in the hospital. It is my sweet spot. It's not her. She stepped up to the plate, and when I needed volunteers and came in and helped take care of a team for a week. You know, that kind of character and that kind of heart, you know, was just amazing to see. And so, you know, my hat's off to the healthcare workers and to the community that helped us tremendously through this process. You know, and then my last comment is, you know, because of a lot of the work that everybody pulled together and did, we actually had some really phenomenal outcomes at UCI. And I don't say this for the sake of just saying it. I say it because I really think our mortality rates were the lowest in the country. And you know, the reason that's important is because we you know, I told our residents and I told our attendings, our faculty, I said, nobody wants to live through a pandemic, but if we have to live through a pandemic, then we're going to not only learn, we're not only going to innovate, but we're going to do the best we can do, so that when we walk away from it, we feel proud of what we've been able to deliver, and that's what we did. And so I'm really proud of our team.
Thank you. Yeah, we just added BA2 2 days ago.
Yes.
Yep, we added one more word. Yeah.
It is. I think the next few weeks we'll be seeing a significant rise.
Yeah. So one thing I heard from actually multiple doctors, they said COVID somehow brought out the best humanity, which is very interesting, right? Because you can see that everyone's so tired, exhausted, and sad and depressed, and yet they push forward, right? We push forward, and then we take care of people and like doctors, and you know, it's just really amazing. Okay, I also want to just introduce our actors, amazing actors. Why don't you just say something yourself? Introduce yourself.
Okay.
Maybe they have questions for you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Anam. I played Melody the nurse, and I'm a fourth-year business economics major. But COVID really took away a lot of my college experience. Unfortunately, I wanted like a traditional one on campus, 4 years, but I only got like 2 years maybe. But this was definitely one of the highlights of my college experience. Just the support from everyone in this project, and it's so meaningful. So, thank you all for giving me this experience.
Hi everyone, my name is Veronica Diaz-Muñiz. I'm a first-year PhD student at the drama department, and when COVID started, I was doing my MFA at UC Davis, and it was very shocking to go through a pandemic, being far away from my country. It was like very painful to see how people were suffering and like how privileged I was to be in the US and like have access to health and like insurance, and like seeing that other people are not able to have access to that. It's like, I don't know, it's really painful, and like, yeah, like, and making this play and like participating in this play allowed me to really reflect on privilege and how COVID, it's also related to race, to class, and to other issues that are beyond having money or not. So I don't know, like COVID doesn't pick people if they have money or not, like it's equal, I would say. So yeah, it was an interesting experience to participate of this creative process. Thank you.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Ron. I'm a third-year undergraduate here at UC Irvine studying drama and informatics, and I played Alex and the essential worker in Final Moments. And so yeah, I'll speak on behalf of Alex as a character. You know, I feel like that was a really real character as someone who also lost a part of my college experience. So COVID hit during my first year. And so yeah, I was basically just like 2 quarters into college basically, and then suddenly everything changed. It really felt like the end of the world, and so seeing those scenes like and reflecting back on it as well, and to have to like tell that story, I felt like was really important as well, especially as like young adults and like teenagers, the kind of like process we went through, the emotional process, and also like there's the idea of irresponsibility and like how we were also on social media and how we might have seen our peers deal with loss, or even seeing that guilt and facing that responsibility of like perhaps getting a family member sick as well. So I think this was a really important story to tell, and I'm glad to be a part of it as well.
Not COVID. Hi, my name is Yongxi Zhang. I'm a sophomore year. And yeah, I'm the second year, but it's actually my first year in the campus because I had a 1 year online class. And yeah, it's really changed. And I'm just so lucky we can be in person now.
Okay. Hi, my name is Sarah, and I'm the stage manager. I just really appreciate this opportunity to work in this team because, you know, first of all, the topic itself is really relevant to the time now. And also it ties back to my major. My major is poli-sci and anthropology. I used to, definitely I share some of the experience with Ron and as a third year. Yeah, it's just because of COVID, I started doing a lot of anthro research, and that's what drew me into this team. And it's really important to acknowledge the experience of, like everyone in our community, the patients, the medical workers, students, and everyone. So yeah, we would just have this really important conversation, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, I just wonder if audience has any questions or comments or asking any of the doctors here or the the artists here. Any thoughts? Yeah. Well, okay. So you can use the mic. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the show, and all of you did a wonderful job in terms of talking about something that has been on all our minds, but we have also experienced it in different ways. So it kind of brought up different issues for different people. I was curious about how, Daphne, you kind of put everything together. You know, did you gather testimony, which seems like you did, and then how you worked through the whole process of creating the piece and then hiring the actors or, you know, working with the students? That's one question. The second question I had for the doctors, you know, like, we have so many people in our society who are not going to get vaccinated, and, you know, you probably end up with patients like that. And how do you handle that? You know, as an ordinary person, I feel extremely angry about that. And I feel like it's burdening the medical system. At the same time, you know, for you all to deal with that, how does that work? So thank you so much.
Yeah. So for me, I think like everyone else, everyone, right, just obsessed with COVID news. Right, just reading this, watching that all the time. So some of the stories, of course, you know, based on my interview, and then actually some are verbatim. You know, I don't know if you noticed that some of the words are exactly what she said to me, right? And then, but some of the other things are just like, for instance, I heard about this term, traveling nurse, and I just started imagining there's this traveling nurse. There's somebody, there's a baby she cannot see. And I'm thinking about singing lullaby to the baby and then sing the sort of the death, you know, the farewell song, right? That's just kind of imagination, right? So sometimes it's just a word or an image that triggers. Yeah, so I think both research and creative ideas and vision and kind of that coming together. And I started in almost like a year ago. So I just working myself, you know, just doing research and writing. And then I started having PhD students, talking to PhD students. I think when did we start? In the fall quarter. So we kind of met maybe every 2-3 weeks. And then they brought in so much because they're all from different background, and talent is there. She's from Iran and she's from Chile. We have students from China, 2 students from China, 1 from Taiwan. So they also brought in their research. So for instance, Ming's story about talking to her mom, and then the text we get are actually people that are real people, real stories, right? Those are the words people used. So part of what I'm trying to present is everything is fragmented, right? You don't see the whole story. You don't hear the other side of conversation. You only hear something. Because I think this is so universal. You can fill in the blank. Yeah, who is that character, right? And then what's the story? What's the other half of the story? Because I think we all share something, right? Okay, so how did you deal with your stress and all that kind of, how did you... Yeah, I mean, that was one of the questions I always ask too. Yeah.
Daphne did indeed ask me this question of how I handle these patients. I think for me, earlier on, I would say last year when the vaccines are still new, I was really trying my hardest to educate everyone, and a lot of people had very great questions that, you know, whether this was scientifically based in their questions or not was, you know, something that I was always open to. Like, are there nanochips in the vaccine? How much evidence do we have? This is the fastest we've seen a vaccine roll out. And there were a lot of great questions, and I always took a lot of time in my primary care clinic where we see continuity patients to explain to them what I understand of the vaccines and give them a lot of very as evidence-based as we could at the time with our vaccines. I would say now my approach, I I understand that there's some patients who are hesitant, and whatever I say will not change their decision. And I do my best to still educate them and give them the option and say, are you interested in getting the vaccine? And I would always encourage everyone to consider it. But I will say my steam has burned out a little bit, and I don't push as hard as I did earlier. I think we've had the point where everyone's educated enough and has seen enough data to be able to make some decisions as things get more approved. And I will say a lot of people have become more open-minded and have started to get vaccinated. But like any medical decision, our job is to educate the public and to educate our patients, but ultimately they make the decision for their own body.
Yeah, so compassion fatigue, that's also another term I learned, right? So people are actually medical workers talking about compassion fatigue, but then they said, no, but we're still, pushing forward. Yeah. So.
Your question about the vaccine and the challenge, it actually did raise a lot. It still continues to raise a lot of emotions for people. The issue is the balance between freedom of choice at the individual level and the public health responsibility at the public health level, right? And there are some facts that are just that as this thing has happened over the past 2 years, there's some facts that are pretty clear. In the first surge, which so I'd say maybe the second surge, which was really the toughest surge that we dealt with the Delta virus, we were dealing with patients we did not have the vaccine. And so these were patients that were hospitalized, many patients that had bad outcomes. We couldn't offer anything except for remdesivir and some steroids. And support, and patients, and it was one of the most severe viruses, in the spectrum of all of this. In the Omicron surge that happened, 80 to 90 and closer to 90% of the patients that were hospitalized were unvaccinated. And so, and this was between the time that we rolled out the vaccine. So, the emotions that run wild for people are, the issues around freedom of choice, the anger that people feel, and you have to balance that with, we are built on a society, at least in the U.S., about, individual choice. And the issues around resource utilization of expensive resources that you're tying up with those resources when other people need them. What we're faced with right now in this lull before the B2A comes out is there's a lot of people that didn't access health care. So we're busier than we've ever been. Not because of COVID, but because people have not accessed health care, right? And so that's also a major challenge that we're faced with. And so I think it's okay to feel anger. I think it's okay for somebody to have strong opinions about not wanting the vaccine. These are but what needs to happen is the conversation. And the conversation needs to kind of continue to evolve as time goes on. From a pure perspective, and from a science perspective, the vaccine is what needs to be given, right? But we do now have other things that we can do to help people bridge the gap. The issue then is, are those folks going to stay isolated? Do they get on an airplane domestically? You can't get on an airplane internationally very easily, but you can certainly get on an airplane domestically. And then how many people do you put at risk? Those are really important questions that have to be, dealt with and addressed. And I don't, we have these conversations all the time, right? And it tugs on our own emotions in big, big ways also. So, go ahead.
Was the impact on the environmental impact of masks and of the pandemic. That was one thing I wanted you to say a little more, and also about the research about that. But then also I wanted to bring something up that's not directly related to the play, because it was not your focus, but we live in the same community here. And your son was an example of how you get through the pandemic or survive the pandemic, because he did communal sidewalk concerts that were, for me, that was the thing, and in the worst lockdown, that was the thing to look forward to, and that was a communal exchange also with the people who came there regularly and sat through.
Yeah.
So I did think I wanted to mention that there's, the play of course had the focus on the hardest parts and on the healthcare worker or the essential workers, but how in the everyday all of us survived this was with issues like that, and very much with community building and with connections. Even music was played a lot of role, but also walking outdoors with friends, because it was for a long time the only thing you could do with friends, and so on.
Yeah. We improvise. We improvise through the hardest times. And we breathe. Because it can't be that bad, right? Because it can't last that long, right? So that's all gonna be our mottos right now. We just gotta think about that. We improvise, and then we try to remember to breathe. And thank you for mentioning the sidewalk concert. That's during the pandemic. We just opened the door, and my son plays piano, and then people just gather around the sidewalk to listen. And that's a way to sustain ourselves, right? So for an artist, and then for the people who feel we are somehow connected, because through music, About the environment? Yeah, I think the environment thing is really interesting, because in the beginning of the pandemic, everyone's like so happy. Now, you see, I don't know, like animals walking on the street, and the air is so much better. You can see the sky in Beijing, for instance, right? Just like everything is so good. And then, but pretty soon we realize, no, we're creating all this waste, right? The PPE, that's of course it's necessary, but also like takeout containers and everything, right? We try not to reuse things because there are germs. And then that becomes this kind of, we have another disaster to deal with, right? So that's why I started thinking about the plastic, which is human civilization, right? It's such a great invention in many aspects. It turns into a monster, kind of Frankenstein kind of monster, right? So that's part of the dance is about, right? We have trash, and then how trash controls our life. We should have Bradford here. Are you there? Yeah, Bradford Ching, So he created this wonderful dance, and just within a few days. And so the idea of man and monster, man and plastic, to kind of struggle and then come to some kind of resolution to co-live, because we can never get it away, right? You made me, and I'm not going away. That's it. And how do we live with that? and how do we think about future, not to make more trash. Yeah. All right, anything else? Okay, thank you so much. Oh, there's one more? Okay. Huh?
So we have a question from Tanner online.
Oh, okay.
And the question was, in your own words, what would you say the moral of the overarching story would be?
The moral, as I was saying, it's really thinking about, I mean, there are multiple things, but then basically we improvise. Yeah, there are many ways to think about how we can improvise through the harshest times. And then I think that's the moral of the story. Yeah. And we take care of each other, right? So one thing that's very important in the play is that when somebody is breaking down and then remembers to breathe, and I want all the actors to look at the actors and say, yes, that's it. That's it. You just need to remember to breathe. Yeah. Is that it? Okay. Well, there's one more question. Okay, yeah.
I had one question concerning like both things that were just brought up. Well, actually, first thing regarding the environmental aspect, I was just kind of reminded of, like, I once saw a picture where like there was like some animal trapped in like the loops of the masks, so they started saying to cut the loops before you throw them away. So that just kind of reminded me of that. But my question, I had another one for the doctors. I was just wondering, like, it's one thing to like educate patients, and like there's frustration with that because, you know, they didn't go to medical school, they didn't have all that education. But what is like the emotional and psychological process that like y'all might go through when dealing with other doctors who disagree with being vaccinated and things like that? Because at that point it's like, oh, you're technically at the same educational level, but then there's still a different opinion, there's like a mismatch there. So I was just wondering if you, what you might have felt about that.
So that's a great question. What we found was that we actually didn't find many physicians, both at the resident level and the attending level, that did not want to get vaccinated. In fact, we were very close to 100% of folks wanting to get vaccinated. Now, whether that is because they understand the science behind it, or whether that's because they realize that they're not going to be able to help patients and others around it, there was almost a sense of sigh and relief that there was something available, and that they didn't want to be the vector that carries a virus from one patient to the next patient to the next patient. So you know, there's multiple probably reasons why doctors ended up taking. We found a little less of a success rate with nurses. And the other thing that has, there's a number of healthcare workers that re-examined their decision to stay in healthcare, and people have been retiring, cutting back. There's this traveling nurse that was raised is partly because of the challenges and the emotional turmoil that a lot of healthcare workers went through. And so those that may not have wanted to get vaccinated also probably, some of them, they had chosen to not get vaccinated and also not carry on with at least that duty of being a provider and a caregiver and so forth. So I think there was variability across the board, but most people found it important to get vaccinated and understood the reason and rationale around it. I didn't have too much trouble encouraging. In fact, we had to stage the vaccine because we just didn't have supply to match demand quickly. And so we were getting, there was almost anxiety amongst, the the people that couldn't get it higher up on the list, right? And so we had to deal with that emotion also. They understood that, there were others, there were ED doctors and hospitalists and intensivists that needed to get it earlier. The nurses needed to get it earlier, and the residents. And so we prioritized that. But even at the training level, we prioritized internal medicine residents because they took care of bulk of them compared to, for example, an ophthalmology resident or somebody else. So there was all of that stuff that also came into play.
Say something?
So I 100% what Dr. Amin is saying is that I did not encounter people I worked with directly who did not want to get vaccinated. I don't think I know anyone, no one that I work with. I have encountered physicians, just not within our system, who have chosen not to get vaccinated. I think it can be the way you handle it is, I honestly feel like the way I'd handle it is the same way I handle it with the general public. There is obviously a different understanding of literature and understanding of science, but in the end, this has become a very emotionally driven discussion, and so the science is not really an argument you can use in these conversations anymore. So I don't have a good way to handle it. I'm going to be honest. I think a lot of physicians and people in these positions will say the same, is that we don't have a black and white way that you can have these conversations like any emotionally driven healthcare decision or decision in general. I think we have this in a lot of realms, whether I don't think COVID is the first thing that brought up these kinds of issues. It can come down to, do you agree with hospice care? Do you agree with end-of-life decisions? These are conversations that healthcare workers have disagreed on, and the general public has disagreed on for centuries, I would say. And this is just how the world works, is we're not always going to be on the same page.
Okay, yeah, so I really, really have admiration for the doctors and the things they went through. So, for instance, the scene of the anointing the sick, it is a true story. Yeah, just imagine somebody had to do that. So I had to research that because I didn't know how to do it, of course. So I actually called a friend who went to a seminary, and then who actually showed me how it is done. And then so we talk about it, yeah. So I just have so much admiration for the doctors, and just really thank you. Yeah. So you have a question? Yeah.
Thank you so much for all performance. That was really incredible, really touching, really provoking. I really like how you was passionate about this. I really saw passion in your eyes. That was really cool. Also wanted to highlight the topic of COVID. I really like the topic and how it was connected with theater, because I couldn't really imagine like COVID-19 and theater together, but this was really important because like Shakespeare plays is not so touching for audience, for ordinary people, because they more think about their work, their money, their family, and COVID is a perfect theme to touch everyone with this topic. I really like this one. Really great. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. That's it.